first bass in 1985, right after my 17th birthday. I'd been wanting to get one for a while. Seemed like everybody played guitar, and playing bass would be a logical move to get in a band. And that proved to be true. I got a bass, my first bass from Florey's Music, and my phone, no cell phones or internet. My phone started ringing from other musicians, other guitar players looking for bass players. So it seemed like within a couple of weeks I was playing in a garage or in a basement. And one of the first musicians I met was Eric Yarbrough. He was playing with a couple guys, Jeff Lance and Dennis Mannion were a couple of the guys that I first started. We didn't even have a singer, so we were playing Priest, Ozzy, what else? Night Ranger, and I just stayed with it, and things. I moved along. Some people, when you're young like that, they drop out. Life happens. They decide obviously other things become important and are more important. And but I did stay with Eric Yarbrough for a long, almost 10 years. We through a succession of other musicians, we met Mike Lane at it was a teen night, a Sunday night teen night. I can't remember the name of the bar. It was in Creve Coeur. It's now the Hardee's, or now that's a liquor store. Bill's Barn. Yeah, Bill's Barn. We met him there. A band called Impulse was playing. Brian Larson was singing. Mike Swanson was playing bass. And Mike's dad, Steve, was running sound for them. And Mike would go and help out. And we met Mike there. And kind of hooked up with him. And kind of just, and Eric and Mike were both younger. Just did the high school gig thing, parties, going through guys that were singing. A guy named Rick Payne sang for us for a while. And then one day, and then we needed a second guitar player at some point, and there was a rival band, Midnight Special. They had a guitar player, and his name was Gary Wolfer. And we somehow, I think that slowed down, or that broke up, and Gary was available, so we asked Gary to join our band. I think at that time we were Purgatory, I think. So we had that, and then Rick Payne's still on vocals. And at some point, Rick left, and we had a guy named Tony Crum come and sing for us. He's a great singer. But just like in That Thing You Do, he joined the band and had already joined the Army. So we knew he was only in for a little amount of till the summer, and he did a great job up until then. And at that point, it was just the four of us, and we were like trying to figure out who to get. So we just started singing ourselves, and Mike and I sang for a short time, and then Gary's girlfriend, now wife Michelle, said, "Hey, Gary can really sing. He really can." So I will remember this. I remember this vividly. I don't know if the other guys will remember this, but I remember Gary was so nervous. We rehearsed in a basement, and Gary would only sing in front of us if we ran the mic cord up to the top of the stairs. He didn't want to sing in front of us. But when he started singing, he had the voice of an angel. It was fantastic. We're like, why have you been hiding this from us? So that's how then that kind of steamrolled, and that became Jinx. I played in that for like 86 to '98. So the first 12 years, I played in that band, and we did a lot of cool things. We had a lot of cool shows. We did a CD. Recorded at Prince's Paisley Park Studios. That's a different story, but maybe we can, and that's something I can tell. I can tell that story. That was a really cool trip. We just had had a producer that we didn't jive with eventually, and so we recorded 3 songs there and never received them. Yeah. We ran years later. We ran into a band in Fort Madison, Iowa, who had the same thing happen to them. I can't remember their name, but they ended up getting an attorney on this dude, and then they ended up getting their song. So had we pursued it a little further, and when we left the studio, when they were mixing the tracks, they did sound really good. I was like, wow. It's really cool. I just saw the piece on 60 Minutes 2 weeks ago where they take you inside for a little bit, and it's virtually the same. When we were there, REM had just recorded, I don't know what the album is. It's the album that really skyrocketed them. They won a ton of Grammys for the Losing My Religion, that album. But that was everywhere. That was like on the walls and stuff like that. It was cool. It was very surreal. Of course, there's 3 studios there, A, B, and C. Of course, we were in C. At the time, Prince had Studio A, and he had what at the time was state-of-the-art technology called fiber optics. And he had I'm not sure where he lived, but he had fiber optics ran to the studio so he could record in his bedroom, and it would turn stuff on there at the studio. Yeah, that was the big deal. They showed us that. But overall, it was a good experience. I mean, we learned a lot. We learned a lot what not to do. Prince was there, but Prince worked nights, so he would show up late and leave at the crack of dawn. And we did like second shift, but we never ran into him. Yeah, that was a cool experience. Opened for a bunch of bands, and like everybody else in Central Illinois, Enough's Enough. Nazareth, Night Ranger, I'm a big Night Ranger fan, so that was a highlight of my youth. Who else? Pat Travers, which was cool. I didn't really know who Pat Travers was at the time, but Ainsley Dunbar was his drummer on that tour, and I did know him from Whitesnake and Journey, so that was cool to watch him play. At that time, back to the members of Jinx, Eric Yarbrough had left, and Brian West was in the band for those, and Brian was in that for Paisley Park too. He was a fantastic drummer to play with. That's one of the big things for me. I have been blessed to play with people better than me. And I can't stress that enough, is to strive for that, because everybody, I mean, if they make me better, or they either make me sound better, or it makes me work to be as good as they are. And I've kind of, I think, made that a focal point of my career, is to try and play with people that when I see them play live, I go, wow. And at some point, Brian West, we were in the middle of recording our CD, and Brian decided he wanted to leave the band. He needed to work. He was a full-time musician and needed to make money. So I'm not sure if he went to a band called, I believe, Frontier. I think was Lynn Garrett in that?
Might have been.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
This would have been 95 or 6. So we've flushed in our minds trying to get think of a drummer, and we just once again playing with somebody like Mike Lane, who's great at everything he does, he's like, I'll play drums. And he did well. And so then we decided we needed a guitar player to fill his spot. And at the time, I believe Frankenstein was breaking up. And so we asked Ryan, and Ryan said yes. So then Ryan joined the band. And that was, I think that was 96. So I think he was in it for 2 or 3 years. His Jinx ended in June of 98. But that was another, and that brought a different level of, there was nothing vocally we couldn't do. We had 4 singers, and that was a really fun time too. We did some cool recording stuff that never came out. But there's like, I think a 3-song demo of stuff that's floating around. That turned out really good. And then one of my favorite stories that I loved it. Well, it's not a favorite story. It's a good story. Jinx was playing in Chicago, and I remember it was January of 98, and both Ryan's wife Michelle and my wife at the time was pregnant, and both of them were due, I think they were both due in February. And so we did this show in Chicago, and it's cold, and I think a little bit snowy, not too bad, but we had ridden in vehicles, and I was like I was in the vehicle with Ryan, excuse me, and I said, hey, let's get a hotel, and it's too late. It's gonna be like 4 or 5 in the morning before we get. Let's get a hotel. And Ryan's like, nah, I don't wanna. I'm like, sure. He's like, nah, I should probably get home. So we drive home, and the next day I find out, I believe, that Michelle went into labor early with Parker, and Ryan was home for it because had he not, and this I think this is before cell phones, which is 98. We didn't really have cell phones.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that means cell phones or not. I don't know what that means. But in some countries, that's something different. I don't know.
That's pager. That's
yeah,
pager.
Yeah, it's a pager. So, so he made it home for Parker's birth, and had he listened to Dumb Me, he may not have. So, and then that band, we decided to call that quits in June of 98. And then I didn't do anything. I had my second son, and I didn't do anything for about 3 years, which was very unnatural for me. It was good for my kids, for me to have me home and stuff, but it was very uncomfortable. And then I think I ran into, this is a band I was in for about a year, but I ran into Shane Tassard somewhere, like at Florey's or something, and they were looking for a bass player, and I joined Yellow Dye No. 5 for about a year. And that was fun. That was it was a new, I had played nothing but either classic, which now classic rock, and then at the end we were playing like prog, a lot of Queensryche and King's X, and we did a Dream Theater song and Fate's Warning, and so I went from that to playing Blink-182, which was a complete different thing, and but good. I learned something new and made some new friends. I became friends with Vinnie Capello and Eric Barley. I already knew, and then we actually recruited Tommy Edwards into that, and then that band morphed into Bubblegum Jack, which was a Central Illinois institution for like 15 years. I played in that for about a year, and I wanted to play more, and some of the other guys did not. So I think I was at Florey's again, which, and I think I ran into Dave Glover, or no, I ran into Kevin, and he said they were looking for a bass player, and I had always loved Tantrum, which was Kevin and Dave's band in the late 80s, early 90s. I was a huge Tantrum fan, and So to play with those guys, I thought would be really fun, and it was. I played that band from 2001 to 2015, and recorded 3 CDs. Played a ton of shows, and probably to where Jinx was super serious, this band was not. This band was like fun. I mean, not that Jinx wasn't fun, but we took ourselves way less seriously in the Megasonics. But it was probably the Kevin and Dave Glover, both fantastic musicians, and all the drummers that we played with in that band, all fantastic. But those two, what makes it great to play with them is those two are two of the most funniest human beings on the planet. I mean, both of them have like comedic timing that I'm surprised they're not on a stage at the jukebox. They're hilarious and fantastic musicians. The drummers in that I think we played with 3 drummers in the 15 years. Mike Thomas, an excellent drummer, and what I liked about Mike was he was a totally different style. From a funk background, like Big Rage Against the Machine, which that is kind of really just that's a funk metal band. Not really, but you know what I mean. You're a drummer.
Yeah.
And I had never played with someone like that, so it opened me up to hear new things and stuff like. And I really enjoy that, and he's fantastic. And Tim Fires was in the band for a year, maybe 2, but I think he was doing drugs. Delaney still, and that was superseding his. The original stuff was superseding our stuff. So then we got Steve Baker, the infamous Steve Baker. Steve is one of the hardest hitting hard rock metal drummers, and just fantastic at it. There's nothing you can't ask him to do. He's a good singer. He doesn't do that a lot. He doesn't showcase that a lot, but a great singer. He does the AC/DC stuff really well, and Jackal, and that was something that we couldn't cop vocally. He was great at that. So that was a pleasure to play with him. So, well, after the Megasonics folded, apparently we're just on an indefinite hiatus. I joined the Unhandsome Devils. Had an opening. They needed a bass player, so that was I joined them. I think I was in that for 2 or 3 years, and that was fun. They play like stuff that I grew up on. I almost had to get my fingers back in shape. Some of the stuff is somewhat difficult, and all great. Everybody, that's another band where everybody sang. There was nothing we really couldn't do, and I enjoyed playing in that band a lot. Played a lot of really cool shows. We opened for the Bullet Boys. Michael Sweet, I think we opened for him. Yeah, that was such a good show.
I saw him at the Smoke.
Yeah, we were there. We were the opener.
Yeah, that was.
He's so good live. He killed it.
Such a nice guy.
Yeah.
I mean, just a great guy.
Totally. And then at some point, I just started to get burned out. And that's when I actually got hit up to do theater. And fortunately, that particular production was Rock of Ages, which really wasn't out of my lane. I got asked to play in Rock of Ages at Peoria Players Theater in the band, and that wasn't something totally new to me. Other than the material was somewhat, I knew most of it. and even the song, even the songs that I didn't know. I mean, you still heard them, like Pat Benatar and Quarter Flash, and so I had the somewhat of the arrangements in my head, but that was incredibly enlightening, and I learned a lot. I have a total newfound respect for people that do musical theater and how they can, how they deal. Like, I'm not sure I could play with sing with a band and dance and act, like do dialogue in between the songs. So the people that do that, they are heroes to me. That is amazing. And then Tommy Edwards had one of the leads in that as Stacey Jacks. I don't know if you've seen that.
I got the movie and I've never seen it.
Yeah, the movie's terrible.
Is it?
Go see the stage play. He did a great job in that too. And then maybe a year later, I did Mamma Mia.
Oh wow!
Which playing in the band. And the one difference though with Rock of Ages, the band is on stage. Like, the stage is a bar, and so I had to get a wig, and I put spandex on that I hadn't put on in 30 years, and Mamma Mia was behind the stage, and it was such a great group of musicians, and that was the music I knew a little bit, but then they give you the sheet music, and that was fun. That's a I don't care what you say about ABBA. It's fun music to play. It's fun, and now that's been shut down because of COVID. But I think they are restarting shows this fall. I think, and I'm scheduled to they're bringing Mamma Mia back, and I'm rescheduled to play that next spring in 2022. So I'm looking forward to that. Always such good musicians in those bands too. Fantastic. So I'm looking forward to doing some more of that. I enjoy that. It's a lot of hard work at the end where it's every night. Crunch time. The rehearsals, the
blocking,
the
lighting, the sound perfection,
when you get it going, it's 3 or 4 nights a week, 2 weeks in a row. So. A lot of work, but I enjoy it, so I'm looking forward to that coming back. I did that, and then after that was done, I saw Josh Bradshaw posted something about needing a bass player for Johnny Quest, so I YouTubed them to see what exactly they did. And it seemed like they did a lot of, the videos were a lot of Beatles, a lot of rockabilly, and I thought, that's something I've never done. And so I messaged him, and I think he gave me some songs, and we had a rehearsal, and I've been playing with them. That was 2018, so 3 years, and I really enjoy that. It's different. It's nothing I played as a young person, and to be honest with you, on bass, like the rockabilly stuff is like cardio for your technique and everything, because it's simple. It's not simple, but like the blues patterns and just the speed of some of those songs, it helps keep your fingers in shape. I love it. I'm singing a lot more in that band, singing lead more, which is something I've never really done. I'm not a big fan of my voice, and it's amazing that I don't get vegetables thrown at me, but I probably should. But I enjoy that. Once again, great players in that band and great people to hang. You know how important the hang is. Josh Bradshaw and Matt Warren, just cool people to hang out with. Matt's a guy, because he's got stories. Because he's been playing 50 years. Truth Council is serious to a point, but there's a part of me that still needs that. I still need that. I don't know why. But I enjoy the the opposite part of the spectrum. With Johnny Quest is just fun, and then playing in the Road Less Traveled is fun. It's a fun band. Playing with Josh Thompson, always fun. And then Joey and J.L. Prater, the Captain and Tennille of Central Illinois. But they're such fantastic musicians and great singers. Both of them great singers, and that's a band that there's almost nothing we can't do. They, between everybody singing, girl songs, we can do cool girl songs, and nothing that we cannot do, and that makes that fun. And hopefully that makes that fun for people to come to see us. With the Truth Council, I've been playing 35 years, and you always get, at least on bass, you always get like weird. You'll just jam licks and keep those in your brain and stuff. And at some point, I just sat down and started organizing those, and then putting a drum machine, a beat to it, just to see how it flowed and what tempo it worked at, and then trying to write lyrics using that music to create and get chord changes that work in there, and then using lyrics, not all the time, but almost is the last thing I do. I've got a list. I don't know.
So you come up with a melody first, then. Sometimes a melody will hit me out of the blue, and I'll cell phones are great for the little memo thing. You can sing into it, and I'm technologically challenged, so all of my stuff, all my band guys get videos shot from here or there with me playing to a cheesy drum beat, a music part, and then I'll do the audio ones where I will sing over it, and I usually send those to Mitch, but they all get them, I think, yeah. Every once in a while, there'll be one song the melody and the lyrics will come first, but not all the time. I think the music inspires the lyrics. And writing them in weird places. I wrote, what did I write? I wrote this song called The Letter, which is coming out on the new record. I wrote that on a plane, going to Seattle to see my oldest son. And, but then sometimes I'll write it at the kitchen table upstairs. I do a lot down here. Like on Fridays and Saturday nights, I'm down here a lot. And 80% of it comes from down here, like the isolation or whatever. I'll turn the TV on. A song called Marked in Red, which is on the new CD. There was a Discovery ID had a program or a show on the sex trade and this trafficking, and it was something I had not paid much attention to, and I'm watching it, and I'm watching it and can't believe that takes place in this world now. I mean, and apparently it has for a really long time, and it was blowing my mind. And and I'd seen the movie Taken, so I mean, but I didn't know it was like so crazy, and it's happening like here right now, or in Illinois. And it just blew my mind, and the lyrics and the title just came out, and I had that song done, I think, in an evening. And that's a song that Jason had already written the music to, so I already had that. I was like just singing to what he had sent in an email. So in the other bands I played in originally, or original wise, the Megasonics, Dave Glover wrote most of that musically, and really most of the lyrics. He would let me do what I wanted bass wise, if it as long as it fit, it wasn't too crazy. And Jinx, we were just learning to write songs at that. We were all in our early 20s and piecing it got better as we got older. And in fact, there's the 3-song demo. And maybe one day it'll get released. 2 songs off of our second CD are in a movie called Gap.
Oh, wow.
I know that's kind of your thing, the slasher horror thing. It's in a slasher horror movie called Gap. I saw on YouTube that the producer for the Gap movie was on the Opie and Anthony show, which is kind of like a Howard Stern, or used to be. I think it's off the air, but it's Opie. The Opie and Anthony had that Paul, the producer from Gap, and Louis Anderson was on there, and Louis was an up and coming comedian at the time, and Louis had watched some footage that they had shown there in the radio station, and Louis said, "I'd rather drink a cup of AIDS than watch that movie again." The Paisley Park recording in Paisley Park was probably, especially for I think I was 24 when I did that. That was mind blowing at the time. Playing the Madison Theater, I think for all of us in Central Illinois, that's if you got to do that, that's just like if you remember, like downstairs in the dressing rooms, all the touring bands that had signed their names on the wall down there. That's a career moment. Opening for Night Ranger was fun. I was just still a young guy there, but knocking the lights out. He knocked this out.
Oh, okay. I see.
In the Megasonics, we mixed and mastered at Warner Brothers Studios in Nashville. Kevin had a friend that he had played with. I think his name was Paul. And Kevin was in a band in the 90s called Hazel's Virtue, kind of an alternative rock band based out of Georgia. And his keyboard player in that band became an engineer at Warner Brothers in Nashville, I think. I'm telling that right. And he was able to get us down there. And so that was kind of cool to see a really big studio. Our last album, the Megasonics 3, was mixed and mastered there by Paul. It's kind of very surreal, but it's a band member that I can yell at and not, fear he's going to kick my ass, although he probably could kick my ass. No, that is a career thing. I would say the whole Truth Council thing and the whole original thing. I'm starting to really, really, really enjoy that a lot.
So how long have you been with Truth Council? You've been together for what? 2 or 3 years?
Yeah. It started out in the winter of January. Well, yeah, it was January of 2019, and we had a really crappy winter. If you remember that, the January to February it was either super cold or a foot of snow.
Like negative 20s.
Yes, exactly. And I remember sitting. I was in my living room, and I was watching the weather on the TV. And it was talking, he was showing about how crappy it was going to be for the next 10 days. And some of those days it's going to have wind chills of negative 40 or something. And all of our gigs were getting canceled, obviously. And I just thought, you know what, you just ought to start writing songs. Just try and, he said, I'd been working with Tommy Edwards on his original stuff and his band. And I recorded some songs on his album, and then I'd been playing with Brent Stortzum, recording and performing live with him. And I just thought, you know what? I'm just gonna see if I can do this myself. So I just had a bunch of riffs, and it was January. It was sitting there watching TV, and I think the high that day was 13 Degrees, which is the title of the EP. And I just thought, well, who could I thought, well, I was a few people that would be available. So I got with Brock because I knew Brock had played with some kids of his own age and had recorded some stuff. And I thought, you know what, I'll just get with him, go to Brian's, and see if this can gel. I really wasn't even sure of his ability, where he was skill-wise yet. I hadn't seen him play much. And we went there, and I played with Jason McMichael in Brent's band. And I thought, he's a good player. He's good to be in a band with. He's such a nice human being. And three of us got together, and it was very fluid. It was everything gelled well. And we had one song, in a few rehearsals. I'm not as prolific as other guys. You talk about guys that can write 3 or 4 songs, bam, 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 and I'm not. I am slow when it comes to that. And so then I thought, well, let's go see if we can record this. So then we went to Eric Nelson at Eclipse Studios, and we got it. We came out with something we were extremely happy with. And so then we talked. I'm like, is this something we want to pursue more? Do you want to do something with this? So then we just slowly started writing songs. And I wrote everything on the first EP. I wrote all the music. I wrote everything. I wrote all the words and all the music. But we had guest people come in had Tommy Edwards come in and sing background vocals on a song. I had Joey Prater come in and sing. She sang everything. She sang all the background vocals on a song called "Different Kind of Crazy." Eric, like as you well know, Eric Nelson played keyboards on some stuff. And it turned out we were really happy about how it turned out. So then COVID hit. So then we got it done. Yeah, I guess that's we released it March 5th, and everything went in lockdown like the next week. So I've pretty much done all as much promoting as I can online. We have done some shows at the Spoke, and that has been great, just to make sure we can play it live, and that the songs go over decently, and they we did that, but we really didn't do too much with it other than online and then those shows. But then I didn't really feel comfortable singing, so then I knew the Unhandsome Devils was on a hiatus, and I asked Mitch Bland if he wanted to do it, and he said yeah. So now we've got a new EP coming out shortly, May, probably as soon as Brock comes over to do all the computer work for it, because I can't. That should be out, and we've got some shows scheduled, and see how that works. But Mitch did a really good job. And on this new EP, there's more shared songwriting. There's a song that Jason wrote entirely on his own, and we just threw lyrics and whatnot on there, and that turned out really good. I had Troy Mackey is doing some spoken word stuff, which I'll play for you off camera. Yes, he did. Troy came, had fun. It's his first time in a big studio, and he did fantastic. And he's fun to hang out with. We didn't really have anybody. Oh, Mitch's daughter sang some background vocals on that song that Jason wrote called Marked in Red. Yeah, Tori's on there. She's got a beautiful voice. I played some keyboards this time, so we'll see how that sounds. I remember playing in LaSalle, Peru, with the Megasonics,
and we had, at that point, Kevin had been borrowing his in-laws' van. They had a, I don't know if it was a minivan, I can't remember, or a conversion van that had been emptied out, but we were using all of he was carrying everything for gigs. And we had hired Mike Tucker to run sound for us in the South Crew. And I think we're on 39 or whatever going up there. And the van breaks down. And I think we just had started getting cell phones, so we had a little flip phone and called Mike, and Mike came and got us. Had already set up at the bar, he had a box truck, came and got us, left the van there, and then drove us to this bar. And I remember being cold, and I can't remember the name of the bar, but whoever the bar owner was, it was a lady who had bought candles and put them at every table. And I'm like, that's weird. And she's out there lighting them up. And as we start loading gear in, it smells like someone broke a sewer line in there. And I'm like, what is that? You gonna smell that? What does that smell? And I think Dave's like, dude, that smells like shit. I go, I know. I go, there's a sewer line or something broke in here. I go, we'll have to see if the toilets work. I go, I don't know. So we're loading in and we get going. And you go in there and the urinals are not working. She's got like the buckets of ice thrown in there, so that they have no water in this bar. And finally, she walked by and I go, is there a problem? Do you need to call a sewer guy or the city or something? And she goes, why? I go, it smells like a sewer line is busted or something. We have sewer gas. And she's like, smells like popcorn to me. And I'm like, popcorn? And then so I walk over, and that's when all these candles are scented popcorn. So that was known as our popcorn and shit show, because it was horrible. The only other story I could tell that won't get me hated or anything is the one we were just telling this because we just ate there. For Easter we went to the Goose Pit.
Okay, Banner.
Went to Banner. We were telling the younger kids in the crowd, the younger kids at the table, stories. And Jinx played there quite a bit, and we were telling the story about we had a roadie named Coon Dog that got drunk one night. If you remember, there was one of those giant wooden spools that was you put electrical cable on, and we had one of our roadies get drunk one night, try to pick it up. His name was Coon Dog, and he dropped it on himself, and then we were laughing. It was funny, and we laughed at him, and he got mad. For some reason, threw his keys out into the field. At that point, or at that time, we had an RV and a trailer, and someone had later on that night, someone had parked their car in front of our RV. Couldn't get out. So, man, we got 6 of us, and Stuntman, Jeff Selberg was one of our roadies. We picked the car up, slid it over. It was like a Ford Escort. Picked it up and moved it out of the way. Okay, fine, good, well enough. So as we're all pulling out, we pull out. We look back, and Stuntman had driven himself to the show. I look back, and Stuntman's taking a dump on their hood.